Welcome to Fantasy Fast Break. If you're deep in your fantasy playoffs right now, listen up. This is it. Every single decision, every waiver claim, every start-sit choice, it's all absolutely critical. We've got a really wild week of storylines to break down that could literally make or break your championship run. So let's just dive right in.
Man, we are on a full-blown fantasy roller coaster this week. Seriously, we've got a performance that's straight out of the history books, a rising star who's suddenly leaking value, a major injury that's opening up a huge opportunity, and yeah, some tough questions about a couple of key veterans. Let's get to it.
All right, first up, we have to talk about something that fantasy managers are going to be telling stories about for years. We've got to break down Bam Adebayo's performance because, well, it wasn't just a good game. It was an absolute undisputed fantasy league winner.
83. That's the number. That's how many fantasy points Bam dropped in most standard leagues. I mean, just let that number sink in for a second. To put that in perspective, right, an elite all-star level performance is usually somewhere in the 50s or maybe the 60s. This one game, this single performance, swung entire matchups for anyone lucky enough to have him.
You know, analysts are already calling it one of the most remarkable scoring performances in NBA history, and honestly, that might be an understatement. This was the kind of game that wins you a championship, period.
And what's so wild is when you put this performance in historical context, I mean, look at this. We're talking about Wilt, we're talking about Kobe, and Bam just put his name right there on that list. 83 points. And he didn't just break the Heat franchise record, he completely shattered the old one held by LeBron James.
And this is how he did it. It's just staggering. He set NBA records for made free throws and free throw attempts. He set Heat records for points in a quarter and points in a half. And get this, his previous career high was 41 points. He more than doubled it. It was just pure, unbelievable dominance. Okay, now, we have to shift gears from that incredible high to a pretty troubling low. Let's talk about Alperen Sengun, because there's a really concerning trend starting to pop up that could be a total playoff killer for his fantasy managers.
So here's the deal, and you can see the contrast right here. For most of the season, Sengun has been a top 20 fantasy beast, this super efficient offensive hub for the Rockets. But over the last 4 games, something's off. His fantasy points have dipped, and the reason is staring us right in the face. Turnovers. 24 of them. In points leagues, that hurts. But in category leagues, oh man, that can single-handedly lose you the week.
And look at this chart. I mean, it puts the problem into such stark relief. His 24 turnovers are 4 times the league average for a center over that same stretch. He's been one of the most turnover-prone players in the entire league lately. If he's on your roster, you are just desperately hoping he cleans this up, and fast.
Now, let's turn a problem into an opportunity. Because, when a star player goes down, it's obviously tough for their team. But for a savvy fantasy manager, it can be a golden ticket sitting right there on the waiver wire. And that is exactly what's happening in Philadelphia.
So, all-star Tyrese Maxey is expected to miss some time. The question for us is pretty simple. Who is going to fill that massive void? His absence leaves this huge hole in the 76ers offense that absolutely has to be filled by somebody.
And here are your 2 main targets, Kelly Oubre Jr. and Quentin Grimes. Oubre is the veteran scorer. He's probably going to see the biggest immediate bump, but look at that key number at the bottom. Maxey had a 30.6% usage rate. That entire volume of shots and opportunities is just up for grabs, and these 2 guys are in the best position to soak it all up. All right, let's talk about a guy on the Clippers who just continues to defy expectations year after year after year. While all the headlines are focused on his superstar teammates, Russell Westbrook has just been quietly chugging along as a rock for fantasy managers. I mean, we all know the legacy, right? The MVP season, the triple-double records, but what's so amazing is what he's doing right now for the Clippers. Even coming off the bench, he provides this crucial spark, and his totally unique ability to contribute across categories, like recently becoming the first guard in NBA history to hit 9,000 career rebounds, it keeps his fantasy floor incredibly high.
And all that production, it translates directly to this number, nearly 32.5 fantasy points per game. He's been a fantastic value pick all season long. The bottom line here is this: despite any kind of narrative you might hear, you are holding on to Russell Westbrook through the playoffs. You trust that consistent production.
Okay, now for our final player, a guy in Indiana who's raising some pretty serious red flags. Myles Turner is known for 2 things, right? Blocks and threes. But one really key part of his game has been strangely absent this season.
This chart tells the entire story. Turner's rebounding has just fallen off a cliff.
His average of 5.5 rebounds per game is not just a little dip, it's the lowest mark of his entire career. For a starting center you drafted to help you in that category, that is a massive, massive concern.
You know, we talk all the time about must-hold players in the playoffs. These are the guys you trust no matter what happens. But with Turner's declining minutes and his disappearing act on the glass, you have to seriously ask yourself, does he still fit this description? For a lot of managers, he's become a very, very risky play.
So to wrap it all up, here is your playoff checklist, your game plan. Number 1, keep a close eye on Sengun's box scores. If those turnovers continue, he is a liability. 2, immediately check your waiver wire for Oubre and Grimes. 3, take a hard look at Myles Turner and ask yourself, is his production actually hurting your team? And finally, keep Russell Westbrook locked in your lineup. It's been a week of incredible highs and some really worrying lows. And as you head into your biggest matchup of the year, you've got to ask yourself, which one of these storylines are you going to act on? Which move is going to be the one that defines your season and wins you a championship? Good luck.